So we have so many models are there. So these models are, basically the entire common thing I am going to give now. Then we'll move on to Agile methodology. So that's everybody are using now Agile methodology only. Agile methodology. In the Agile methodology, we have a Scrum. So then different approaches will be there. But the Scrum process is the very famous one. We'll discuss that also. How Scrum process will work in the current IT companies. Everybody follows that one only. Most of the 99% companies will follow that. So how? So they will be so used. We'll see in the real time. And so software development lifecycle means what? So software development lifecycle is a framework or approach. So where all the project stakeholders will be involved and they will do their tasks from the beginning of the project to till the release of the project. So till the delivery of the project. So what are all the tasks they will perform and what are all the different stages it undergoes. So that process is called software development lifecycle. So you can simply say it's an approach or a methodology. So where from the beginning of the project till the release of the project, what are all the stages it undergoes to deliver a successful project? That is called software development life cycle. So in this, you have so many people involved. Many people are involved. Many stages are there. So those stages are called first stage, you can say requirements gathering, and we have analysis, then design, coding, testing, and deployment and maintenance. So these are the different stages you can see. Requirements gathering, that's a feasibility study means. Analysis, design, coding or implementation, testing, and then deployment. So installation is nothing but deployment. So and deployment and monitoring, basically. Deployment and monitoring, we call this last one. So this is the entire software development life cycle. So where each stage, many people are involved. Many people will be involved and they are doing their own tasks, right? So if in the feasibility study or requirements gathering phase, we call this basically for the first phase. And so here, business analyst or product owner, mainly these people will be involved and they will gather all the requirements. So there is two types of applications, product-based applications and project-based applications. Product-based means product means what? Or project means what? A product is nothing but, so it is globally used by many people, right? The global purpose, like you see the product Windows, Linux, Mac, these are all the products, right? So globally people will use. And the requirements are common for all. The project means that is specific to particular company or particular persons, or a group of people can use only. So that's a project. Project is specific to particular group of people, particular company purpose. That's a project. It's not a global. So that's a product and project means. So basically in the product-based companies, you have product owners, right? Product owners, they are developing their own product and they can use for their business purpose. So in the beginning phase, either business analyst or product owners will be involved. They will gather all the requirements and they will explain to us. So they might give us in one document format all the requirements, or they are using a Jira tool to store all the requirements. Nowadays they are using a Jira tool. They will mention all the requirements, and those requirements they will explain to us in the meetings. Requirements walkthrough will happen. So requirements, so discussions will happen, and you will get some idea on the requirements. And then, so the feasibility study phase or requirements gathering phase itself, the testing activities will start. What are the testing activities? The testing team will participate from the beginning of the phase itself. So initial phase itself, the testing development team both will be involved, and along with business people, and so all the people will be involved in the beginning phase itself. So they will just discuss on the requirements, and in that one document will be output document, and that will be so used for all the project stakeholders to understand the project requirements. Then analysis phase, and these requirements will be analyzed, right? Different people, again, business people, project, all the people who are all involved in that project, they will also join in the meetings, and they will analyze the requirements. So they will analyze the requirements. Okay, so they will do some analysis on the requirements, and they will so refine the requirements. The refinement will happen in the analysis phase, and the testing team will take that requirements, and then they will start designing the test cases. Test case designing will start in the once you got a clear picture of the requirements. Requirements are clear, then so you will start designing the test cases. So designing test cases in the early stage based on the requirements, so it will help to understand the requirements, and also you can catch any bugs are there also in the requirements. So that is very important, so that in the while going for the development you can avoid bugs. That's advantage of designing the test case in the early stage. So that means the testing team will involve from the beginning of the phases, so that it will really help to minimize the defects in the development. So because you will get a clarity on the requirements. So to design the test cases, you will take some, now you are using a requirements in the Jira tool. Requirements will be in the Jira tool form. Before, they used to give in the document, like a Word document they used to give, requirement documents. And the screenshots also they are going to give. So those are the base documents for writing the test cases. So, and these documents will be used to design the test cases. And along with the testing team, the development team also will use those documents. So now Jira is the main tool for all the requirements will be included. And there you will read them, all the requirements. Based on that, the design. So next design phase, what will happen is, there are two main people will be involved in the design, like architects and tech leads will be involved to prepare the high level design and low level design documents. Basically, design documents will be prepared in the design phase by architect, technical lead. These people will be so drawing all the high level design documents, how these requirements will work, and where the connection will be there, and all the design flow will be explained in this design phase. Once the design phase is done, then coding is the main part. So design and coding is the crucial parts in the development phase. So if the design has done properly, the coding will be easy. So the coding part is, so the developers are programmers and managers, the development manager, they will participate in this coding phase. This is the longest phase. Basically, this has a front end, so back end, and also a database layer. So these are the three layers will be there: middleware and back end, front end, middleware, and back end. So front end is developed by like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, right? These are the technologies are used to develop the front end. A middleware is mainly it will connect the front end and back end. The middleware is developed so by using some programming languages: Java, C#, Python, Ruby, C++. These are all the different programming languages will be used. So in the back end, a database is created using so different databases are there, like MySQL, Oracle, MongoDB, Microsoft SQL Server. So these are the different databases will be there. You can use these databases, any one of them, to store the data. So this is the coding phase. Once this coding is done, developers will perform a unit testing on their machines. So whatever the code they have written, that code is working or not, they have to do a initial testing, right? That initial testing is called unit testing. So what is meant by unit testing? Who will do unit testing? Developers or programmers, development team. So each developer will write his own unit test cases. So what is meant by unit testing is testing each and every micro function of the application is called unit. Every micro function means, so they will write so many functions, right? Each function you have to give some inputs. So that in dummy input they will give and they will check whether the code is executing properly or not. That will be checked by development team. If all the functions are working properly, then they will deploy this code in the environments. So we have different environments. In those environments, so they will deploy the code and then you can start testing. Then it will come to testing phase. So once the development is done, unit testing is done, then the code is deployed into the environment. Then, so testing team come into picture. So before completing the development, you must complete the test case designing, test case review. Remember this. These are the primary responsibility of a testing team. Before actual testing, the validation starting before, the verification process should be finished. What are the verification processes? Understanding the requirements, designing the test cases. Once the test case design is done, somebody has to review your test cases. You have written. How do you know those are correct? Right? So somebody has to review. Who will review? Maybe you can internal reviews you can do with your colleague or with your manager, or then you can go to business people also, you can ask to review. They will also review. Our development team can review and they can suggest any test cases are missing. Maybe you are missing some requirements. They will suggest. Okay, so add more test cases. Okay, so that's the testing actual starting before. That should be finished. So once the environment is ready, the feature is ready for testing. So here the many testing team people will be involved, like, managers will be there, QA managers, test leads, senior test engineers, all the people will be so available for testing the application. The first, when they give the environment for testing, so first you will perform the smoke testing. Smoke testing or build verification testing, we call this. So what is this smoke testing or build verification testing means? You are ensuring that there are no blockers or showstoppers in the application before conducting a detailed testing. What is showstopper or blocker? So any critical defects, blocker defects, those are present or not, you can check. If those are present, immediately you have to report them in the tool and send a mail so that they will address, and then they will deploy the code with a corrected code in the environment. Then you can start your testing. So that's a smoke testing. Initial testing or a build health checking testing. So you're just checking build is stable or not to conduct a detailed testing. So no blockers are there. Blockers means it is stopping your testing activity. You are not able to continue further because of this issue. That is called this smoke testing means. So the smoke testing means they say initial testing. When you get the build newly, you need to perform a smoke testing. So when you will perform this smoke testing, when you get a build first time, to check the build stability, build is testable or not, you are checking that basically basic functionality is working or not, you will check in the smoke testing. For example, you have 50 test cases. You won't execute all 50 test cases in the smoke testing. Just 10 to 15 minutes. Just do one high level cursory testing. So whether it is working or not, maybe if you login is happening or not, very high level. So you won't go very deep. It's not a deep testing, okay? So that is called smoke testing. So if anybody asks you smoke testing, so this is also called build verification testing. So we are going to ensure here no blockers, showstoppers in the application before conducting a detailed testing. So it's just a basic functionality is working or not, you will check before conducting a detailed testing. That is called smoke testing. Basic functionality will check. Like, so very 5 or 10 tasks maximum, you will execute. If those are working, then you can say, okay, build is stable. So no much, so blockers or anything. So we can continue our testing. We'll let you know. So if any issues are there, then just drop a mail. Reply to the same mail. They will send a mail, right? So once a build is ready, they will send, okay? So code is deployed in the environment, so-and-so environment, test environment, or QA environment. So start testing. So your so functionality, they will ask. Then you can reply. So the build looks good. We'll continue our testing. So you just reply, so once you start the testing. Smoke testing has to be done first. After smoke testing, now you start a detailed test case execution. Detailed test case from the beginning. You have written the test case document, right? In the test case document, you have all the steps. So how to start, from where to start, and then the flow will be written there. So what data you have given, data also will be there. So test case wise, you can execute one by one. So while executing, if any test case so passes, you just mark that test case as a pass status. If any test case fails, you can mark that test case as a fail. You can mark that test case as a fail. So for a failed test case, you need to report the defect in the defect tracking tools. So what is a defect? I already told. The expected and actual result both are not matching. So then you call that as a defect. So, so then you report the defect in the defect reporting tools. Defect reporting tools. That defect report tools you will use like a Jira, ALM. So we have different defect tracking tools. You can report any of these tools. So what is defect report means? So for failed test case, you will report a defect. For failed test cases, you can report the defect. You can report the defect. And so those defects is available for all the project stakeholders. Project stakeholders means who are all involved basically for the developers and business people, and everybody can see that defect, right? So those defects will be seen, and then you need to explain. So in the bug triage meeting, how you got this defect, you show them in the defect triage meeting, or bug triage meeting, or defect triage meeting will be happen. So who will be there? Development team and testing team. And they will ask, so how you reproduced, is it reproducible or not now? And you will show the flow. You will write the steps in the defect report itself. All the steps, so test data you will give, and that you will check here. So you will show one more time. Then, so the developers will look into that. They will debug, and they will find out the root cause. They will work on that defect. If that defect is valid, they will start working on that. Once that is fixed, then they will deploy in the same environment. Okay, then you can start retesting. So what is retesting? Retesting means you test first time it failed. Now the developer fixed that. They corrected it. That corrected code is deployed in the environment. Now they're asking to retest it. So then what is meant by the retesting? This is important. So you smoke testing, retesting, these definitions, you should by heart these things. They will ask these questions. What is smoke testing? What is retesting? You should be able to explain. Retesting means, so to ensure that the failed test case is working properly or not now after the fix. The failed test case is working or not. You will check one more time. You will test with the same test data, same steps you will follow on the environment. That is called retesting. Failed test case only you will test it. That is called retesting. Retesting, already tested one. Now the developer is corrected that. Now you will check one more time whether it is working or not. When you test first time, it failed. How can you say it is failed? It's not matching application behavior and expected behavior. That's why you are marking as a failure. And you report the defect for that. Each failed test case has one defect. That failed test cases you are going to retest once the development is fixed. That is called retesting. Like that, you will finish all your testing along with the fixed bugs. So once one round of testing is done, then so many bugs, for example, you filed 10 bugs. all the 10 bugs the development team has fixed and they merged the code, the corrected code in the environment, you will retest every defect. So every test case which is failed, you're going to retest it. Once retesting is done, even retesting also called bug fix verification. So bug fix verification means already fixed bugs you are verifying. That is also called retesting, basically, right? So once it is done, so bug fix verification is done, and all your, suppose you have 50 test cases, the 50 test cases you executed, all the test cases, maybe it will take 5-6 days, right, to execute all the 50 test cases. In the first day itself, you won't finish it. In manual testing means you have to execute all 50 test cases. It will take time, or at least 3-4 days, right? So you will give estimation how many days you need for testing. So that many days you have to finish, 2-3 days at least. So based on the complexity of that functionality. And once you fixes that, so you verified all the defects, finally one more round of testing you will do, that is called regression testing, right? So why you need to do regression testing? This is another major interview question. What is meant by regression testing? Regression testing is nothing but, so regression testing is nothing but, you have done one round of testing. After that, the development team has done some code changes. Then how do you know the previous, whatever you tested, after testing, they made some change in that area. You completed your testing in that area. How do you know there still all the test cases are working or not? How can you ensure that? So that purpose, you will do one more round of whole test cases you will execute again. That is called regression testing. So that means you're going to ensure that no new bugs are introduced in the unchanged areas of the application due to modifications or changes by the development team. While fixing, they will change, right? The code, they will change. That change should not cause a new bug in the unchanged areas. So suppose, so they made a change in, right? They made a change in this area, right? So you have the application here, right? So they made a change only in this area, you have a bug. But it should not affect in this area again. So it should not affect. So here, it should not, this should not affect here another bug. It should not cause a new bug here again. You modified here. You modified here. So you fixed another bug here. You fixed these areas. These should not cause a new bug in this, any of these unchanged areas. Here you didn't change. Here you didn't change. Here you didn't change. It should not cause the bug again in unchanged areas. Or here also it should not cause. You fixed it here. This should not cause a new bug again in any of the areas. So that is called regression testing. The existing functionality should work as expectation. How previously it was working, it should work as it is. It should not break again. How can you ensure that? If you test one more time, right? All the test cases, passed or failed, everything you have to test one more time. Then only you can confirm that, so this is working fine. That final testing is called a regression testing. So to ensure that no new bugs are introduced, so in the application, because of changes and modifications, it should not introduce any new bugs, no spillover. The existing functionality should work as per expectation. It should not break. The previously it was working and after the code change is done by the development team, they should not introduce a new bug again. If they introduce a new bug, means that's a regression issue. How can you say it is a regression issue? Previously it passed when you test first time. Now the development team made a fix here, but it broke here. This area, the test case is failing here. Now that is called regression bug. So this area is called regression bug. So if this is broken, this is called regression. That means that is a developer broke this. The code is broken here. So that is called regression testing. Are you clear on the retesting and regression testing, Sanjay?
Yes.
So that's a very, very important. Okay, so these are very, very important points. These are all. The main interview question is, what is the difference between retesting and regression? You should be able to explain that. And highly asked interview question, these 2 points. If you are not clear, let me know. I'll explain once again.
It's good so far.
So good, right? So tomorrow you need to explain. So these definitions: unit testing, smoke testing, retesting, regression testing, you need to explain. Okay, so that's important.
One more time. Unit testing,
smoke testing, retesting, regression testing.
Regression testing, gotcha.
So these are the commonly asked interview questions. Mainly we'll see what is the difference between retesting and regression testing. So definitely they will ask this question. Every interview you will see this. Without this, there is no interview also. Okay. So that much important, because you will use this regression so many times. You must do the regression testing every time a new functionality comes. Suppose if you understand the Agile methodology, then I'll bring this point again there. Okay. So once you in the regression testing, you didn't find any new bugs, all are good. So second round of testing, everything is good. If you find a bug, anytime you find a bug, you report that. So don't hesitate. So that's a very important, or always. So main objective is reporting the defects. So you report the defects. If no defects, you can say they will ask sign off. Sign off means what? They are asking from your side, everything is working. You are certifying that. Tomorrow issue comes, they will catch you. So you told you everything is working, and now again, so after deployment, they will deploy to next level, and then to the production. So different levels it will go deployment, and they will keep monitoring. So how is it is working? The product will be deployed to the different environments. So QA, then pre-pod, then production. So it will go like that. The code will move. Once the code is available in the production, it will be applicable, useful for all the people, right? Who are all using that application, they will use the new features. So that's the complete software development lifecycle. So you see, we started from the requirements and we converted them into functionality development, then tested, then deployed. And deployment is done by, there are different teams like DevOps teams also will be participated here, right? DevOps teams will help to complete the deployment process. So that's the whole process of any project development. Okay, so then let's come back and we'll discuss on the testing process then we'll start the agile methodology. Okay, if not today, tomorrow, but the testing process we'll discuss. Let's join back. Okay.
Okay, surely.